के कहते हैं कि हाँ हम डोनर हैं, उनमें से कई लोगों को इन्होंने बता दिया कि जी कोई फॉरेन नेशनल वगैरह, जो उनको कई पाकिस्तानियों को बना दिया कि जी ये तो गैर मुल्की है। वो पार्टी जिसने फंड रेजिंग की, जिसकी सारी ऑडिट रिपोर्ट्स हैं, जिसकी एक एक चीज हमारे सामने हमने इनको इलेक्शन कमीशन को दी है, उस पार्टी के ऊपर सारा नजला गिर रहा है। और मैं बार बार कहता जा रहा हूं कि हम 4-5 साल से कह रहे हैं, बल्कि अदालत भी कहे उनको बैठी है कि इन पार्टीज की इकट्ठी, अगर आपने ऑडिट करना है फंड रेजिंग तो इकट्ठी करें। मैं सिर्फ इसलिए कह रहा था, मैं क्यों चाहता हूं कि इकट्ठी हो, क्योंकि मुझे पता है हमने कैसा पैसा इकट्ठा किया है। मुझे पता है कि हमने एक एक, क्योंकि लोगों ने हमें पैसे दिए हुए थे, हमने अपनी सारी ऑडिट रिपोर्ट्स, पूरी हमारी बुक्स तैयार है। मुझे इतना भी पता है कि इन दो पार्टीज के पास कुछ भी नहीं है, ना इनके पास किसी ने इनको पैसे दिए आज तक, ना कोई पैसे देगा इनको, ना इनके पास कोई ऑडिट रिपोर्ट्स है, ना इनके पास कोई बुक्स हैं, ना इनके पास कोई डोनर बेस है। यानी किधर से पैसा आया इनके पास? यही इलेक्शन कमीशन अदालत के ऑर्डर के बावजूद इन्होंने सिर्फ तहरीक इंसाफ को कटहरे में खड़ा किया हुआ और इतनी झूठी रिपोर्ट बनाई है, ऐसी ऐसी चीजें उस रिपोर्ट में लिखी हैं जो जिस दिन, मैं चैलेंज करता हूं, जिस दिन इसके ऊपर सही माने में अदालत के अंदर ये तफ्तीश होगी, मैं ये चैलेंज करता हूं कि पाकिस्तान में ये साबित होगा कि एक पार्टी ने इस मुल्क के अंदर सही माने में पैसे इकट्ठे किए हैं, जो पॉलिटिकल फंड रेजिंग होती है। और इलेक्शन कमीशन इनके साथ मिलकर क्या कोशिश कर रही है, वो उस पार्टी को जिसने सारे एक रिकॉर्ड्स करके और सारी पॉलिटिकल फंड रेजिंग जो होती है सारी दुनिया में वो की है, उसको कोशिश कर रहे हैं बैन करने की। उस साजिश का हिस्सा, ये वही साजिश का हिस्सा है कि किसी तरह, क्योंकि आप इनको ये आप हरा नहीं सकते, इलेक्शन आएंगे तो ये जीत जाएगी, तो इसको आप टेक्निकली नॉकआउट करो। तो एक वो इन्होंने आरिफ नकवी का नाम ले लिया। 2012 में मैं सिर्फ अपनी कौम को बताना चाहता हूं कि पाकिस्तान का जो राइजिंग स्टार था, जो इस मुल्क में सबसे तेजी से इंटरनेशनल सीन के ऊपर, जो फाइनेंस के तेजी से ऊपर जा रहा था, उसका नाम आरिफ नकवी था। उसने कराची इलेक्ट्रिक, हमने नहीं उसको कराची इलेक्ट्रिक की प्राइवेटाइजेशन की, वो इन दो पार्टीज के दौर में वो उसको कराची इलेक्ट्रिक की उसको दी गई थी प्राइवेटाइजेशन में, और उसकी बिल गेट्स उसको पैसे, उसको इन्वेस्ट कर रहा है उसके फंड के अंदर, वो प्रिंस चार्ल्स की चैरिटी को पैसे दे रहे हैं। और ये इलेक्शन कमीशन कह रही है 2000, हम 2012 की बात कर, कहती थी 2018 में वो फ्रॉड, उसके ऊपर चार्जेस लगे। यानी इस लेवल पे इन्होंने जाके कोशिश की है कि किसी तरह हमें डिस्क्रेडिट करे, और मेरा नाम ले दिया कि जी उसने सर्टिफिकेट दिया हुआ है और वो उसने कंसील किया अकाउंट्स। मैं आज आपको फिर से कह दूं कि सर्टिफिकेट देना हमेशा, जब आप सर्टिफाई करते हैं, वो एक प्रोसेस से आपके पास पहुंचती है। मैं ये नहीं, मैं बुक्स नहीं पढ़ के सर्टिफाई करता, वो पहले शुरू होता है नीचे से, हमारी फाइनेंस डिपार्टमेंट करती है, वो फिर बैठती है ऑडिटर्स के साथ, उनके साथ किताबें रिकंसाइल करती है, वो फिर जाती है पार्टी की मैनेजमेंट कमेटी में, वो मैनेजमेंट कमेटी जब क्लियर करती है तो मेरे पास आती है, तो मैं दस्तखत उनके कहने पे कहता हूं टू द बेस्ट ऑफ माई एबिलिटी। मैं सर्टिफाई, मैंने वो किताबें नहीं देखी होती, जबकि मैं अपने जो असासे डिक्लेयर करता हूं तो वो मैं एफिडेविट देता हूं, क्योंकि मैं देख।
All right, everybody, welcome to the Sunday edition of This Week in Startups, the show that never leaves you hanging over the weekend.
And Molly has a great question for me for VC Sunday School. She had a friend who wouldn't invest in first-time founders. They like to have seasoned founders. And she asked me this very important question about, hey, is that a thing? Should you only invest in second, third-time founders or first-time founders? It led to a wonderful discussion that's very candid and that most VCs will not have publicly.
That's exactly the beauty of this show. And then, because in the news right now is this inflation reduction bill that nobody saw coming, Joe Manchin surprised the world by signing on to a bill that includes $369 billion for climate. I called my good friend Jay Coe of the Lightsmith Group to say, hey, that seems like it's going to be good for us climate tech investors, right?
Yeah.
And we had a nice newsy conversation about that.
This is exactly the discussion I've been waiting to hear, because I've been trying to take apart this bill, and congratulations to President Manchin on getting this through, getting this to the finish line, or apparently close to the finish line.
We hope.
It feels like it's getting there.
Hopefully, Vice President Sinema won't screw it up for all of us. But
yeah. Well, she might also save us on the carried interest. So.
She probably will. We talk about that too. We talk about the built-in sacrifice.
I like it. It. It's no sacrifice for me.
Listen,
or you, Molly.
Win-win for me. Win-win.
It's a win-win for you. Molly, you're winning so much.
I mean, right? This is a great year.
But we break down the important work in this bill to give credits for EVs and how that works and how that stimulates the adoption of these great technologies. And Molly and I obviously have strong feelings about this. It's going to be a great show.
Stick with us.
This Week in Startups is brought to you by OpenPhone. As a startup founder, a lot of mistakes are easy to roll back, but using your personal cell phone number as your company number isn't one of them. OpenPhone makes it easy to get business phone numbers for you and your team right on top of your existing devices. Visit openphone.com/twist to get 20% off your first 6 months. Masterclass. Learn from the world's best minds, anytime, anywhere, and at your own pace. Get 15% off an annual membership to Masterclass at masterclass.com/startups. And Odoo is a fully customizable and fully integrated suite of business apps that lets you build and scale your stack as you build and scale your business. Your first app is free forever, and right now Odoo is offering $1,000 off your first implementation pack at odoo.com/twist. That's odoo.com/twist.
All right, everybody. It is Sunday. It's time for me to get my learning on. VC Sunday School.
What's on your mind?
So this was super interesting. I was talking to a friend, connecting, who is an angel and a scout, and so we were comparing notes. Who do you want to talk to? Doing that like networking thing. And he made this really interesting comment. Like, he was talking about his kind of filters, and he said that a filter of his as a former founder is that he never invests in first-time founders, because he says he was one and he thought he was too stupid to make it work. And so now he just really optimizes as an angel for founders with some experience. And we have some stats on this. Like, apparently, according to a Harvard Business School study, first-time entrepreneurs have an only 18% chance of succeeding, whereas entrepreneurs who previously failed have a 20% chance of succeeding, which doesn't seem that different, I guess, 18 to 20. Feels like statistically insignificant potentially, but maybe not. And then a VC-backed entrepreneur who starts a company that goes public has a 30% chance of succeeding in their next venture. So I just wondered what you thought. What do you think?
So this comes up a lot.
Yeah.
There are a lot of biases, and one of them is survivorship biases, right? And when people see Zuckerberg and Gates and Steve Jobs knock it out of their park with the first company, they assume first-time founders, because we have these outrageous examples, are what you should bet in. And the thinking there, again, this is people with confirmation bias saying, okay, we saw this. What was it? Oh, they have a fresh mind. They don't know how hard it's going to be. They have a disruptive worldview, whatever it is. They come up with all these reasons to explain the success. What they don't see is the other 10,000 companies that had no success, modest success for every Bill Gates.
Right.
And so the truth is, after each successive failure, I would say you get 50% better at running a company at the very least.
Yeah.
At the very least. And this makes a ton of sense. Now, the problem is, if you've done a company in your 20s, then you do one in your 30s, and now you're in your 40s. Maybe you got one more in you, but you got kids, you got a family, you got a mortgage, you don't have the energy level, you get more tired.
Also, you know what you're in for, and so you feel you dread it / pull back on certain parts of it that you know are going to be really hard, as opposed to when you're young and dumb and strong.
Exactly. So the young and dumb and strong and energy, again, this is age bias, I understand, is what most investors would say behind closed doors. Now, but the truth is, you get kind of like old man, old lady strength, a different, you get mama strength, you get,
Yeah.
dad strength.
You become a master multitasker.
Yeah. So this is like a different level of sophistication, which is, you're not good at something. You don't want to do something. So you just hire somebody amazing. You know how to lead people. You know how to hire people. You know when to sell. Mm-hmm. And you may not have that cutthroat insanity of youth and that just never-ending supply of energy, but you also don't have the spastic nature of young people. Now, also young people maybe will bend the rules a little more. They'll not be like, oh, there's copyright law. Oh, there's Airbnb, Uber, local regulations, Coinbase, Theranos. You can make a long list of people who have just, not really paid attention to that. But the truth is the optimal age is probably somewhere in the 30s into your 40s because you still have energy, but you got some experience. That's what most people believe. So I'm putting aside my thoughts on it. I'm telling you what the industry has experienced and what people say behind closed doors, which is kind of what this segment is about. Totally fine to invest in first-time founders. You may, if you lose, you were their first backer, so they may come back to you for the next one. Now remember, Travis, Uber was his third. I had interviewed him when he did Scour. We had been friends when he was doing Red Swoosh, and on the margins, we had hung out and jammed on different ideas and talked about stuff. And so my relationship with him for the third led to that. I was an investor in Rapportive, and then his second company, Raul's, was Superhuman, right? So the first company sold for maybe 20, 30 million. Superhuman's worth a lot more than that. I won't say exactly what the valuation is because I'm not sure if it's public. But I secured my position in Superhuman by, I think, being one of his best investors in Rapportive. So there is that benefit of backing a first-time founder.
Right, is that you build a relationship, and if you think that founder is great, even if their first company is a dog, their second one might be great, and you still want to know them.
Yes, and there was a study, again, back to Harvard Business Review, HBR, which does a great job, by the way. They had done some research.
फैसले आपने लिखवा कि मुल्क तोड़ने वाले फौजी जर्नैल उनकी लाशों को पाकिस्तान के झंडों में लपेटकर उनको दफनाया गया।
रखो कराची के बहन भाइयों, एक या दो अफराद इदारा नहीं हुआ करते। एक या दो अफराद इदारों की बदनामी का बायस बना करते हैं, और जब वो इदारे की आड़ लेते हैं तो उसमें फिर इदारे के ऊपर नाकाबिले तलाफी नुकसान होता है।
तो हमारी किरदार कशी करना छोड़ दो। अगर हमने आपकी शुरू की तो पता नहीं पाकिस्तान बनने से आज तक कितने जनरलों की शुरू हो जाएगी। बेटी भाई वो एक्यूज्ड हैं, उनकी लिस्ट लेके जिस दिन हमने प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस की तो आपकी ईंट से ईंट बढ़ जाएगी।
इसराइल के वजीफों पे पलने वाले जर्नैलों, रिटायर्ड जर्नैलों, अपने हुदूद में रहो।
काम की हड्डियों से गोश्त तक जो है इन्होंने निचोड़ लिया है और उतार लिया है।
अभिनंदन की क्या बात करते हैं। चीफ ऑफ आर्मी स्टाफ तशरीफ लाए, पैर कांप रहे थे, पसीने माथे पे थे। शाह महमूद साहब ने कहा कि खुदा का वास्ता है अब इसको वापस जाने दें, क्योंकि 9 बजे रात को हिंदुस्तान पाकिस्तान पे अटैक कर रहा है। वो कोई हिंदुस्तान ने अटैक नहीं करना था, कुछ नहीं होना था, सिर्फ घुटने टेक के। अब
तो मैं चाहता था कि आप खुद ये सुन लें, इससे बहुत ज़्यादा क्लिप्स हमारे पास हैं, और मैं इसलिए चाहता था कि आप ये सारे सुन लें कि इनके अगेंस्ट क्यों कोई एक्शन नहीं लिया गया। ये तो क्लिप्स अभी अवेलेबल हैं, क्या इनके ऊपर, और इनके ऊपर तो एक्शन पहले भी लेना चाहिए। जो ये सारा डॉन लीक्स था और जो मेमो गेट था, क्या ये लोग आज ठीक हैं? और हम वो पार्टी जिसने आज तक सिर्फ अपना मुल्क का सोचा है, जिसने इस सारी जो जद्दोजहद हमारी हुई है, आप यकीन करें कि अगर कोई भी, जिस तरह हमने ये मुश्किल वक्त से गुजरे हैं, जो हमारे ऊपर मुश्किलें गुजरी हैं, मैं आज आपको कहता हूं कि हमने हर वक्त صرف اور صرف پاکستان کا سوچ ہے. ہمارے پاس اس وقت اسٹریٹ پاور ہے, ہم سارے پاکستان کو بند کر سکتے ہیں. ہمیں صرف کہ ملک کے معاشی حالات آج ایسے ہیں کہ ہمیں اپنے ملک کی فکر کرنی چاہیے, اور اس لیے ہر چیز مظاہرے بھی کرتے ہیں تو پرامن. صرف 25 مئی کو ہمارا پرامن مظاہرہ تھا جب انہوں نے ہمارے پر انتہا کا ظلم کیا. آج تک کوئی ایک بتایا کہ ہم نے اپنے ملک میں کوئی توڑ پھوڑ کی, کوئی ہم نے اپنے ملک کو نقصان پہنچانے کی کوشش کی, جبکہ یہ وہ لوگ ہیں جنہوں نے اور جو چیزیں چھوڑے, جو انہوں نے اس ملک کو لوٹ کے باہر پیسہ لے کے گئے ہیں. یہ کیسے محب وطن ہو گئے؟ تو میں آخر میں میں صرف یہ چاہتا ہوں کہ یہ جو کوششیں ہو رہی ہیں سازش کر کے ایک ملک کی سب سے بڑی جماعت کو توڑنے کی, ہمارے لوگوں کو توڑنے کی بھی کوشش کی جا رہی ہے, اور کہ الیکشن میں کسی طرح یہ اتنے کمزور ہو جائیں کہ جب یہ الیکشن ہو, اور الیکشن کی پلاننگ کر رہے ہیں کہ یہ اتنے کمزور ہو جائیں اور پھر نواز شریف آئے وہاں سے انگلینڈ سے, اور اس کے بعد کہیں کہ جی دیکھیں عمران خان کو بھی ڈسکوالیفائی ہو سکتا ہے اور وہ بھی ہو سکتا ہے, ہم دونوں کو ایک ملا دیں, اور اس کے بعد یہ پھر وہی اسی الیکشن کے ذریعے الیکشن کروائیں. یہ گیم ہے بیسکلی کہ کسی طرح ہمیں چھوٹا کر کے کٹ ٹو سائز کریں. میرا اگلا سوال یہ ہے, جو بھی یہ پلاننگ کر رہے ہیں کیا یہ پاکستان کے لیے بہتر ہے؟ کیا پاکستان اس میں سے اس دلدل سے نکلائے گا؟ پاکستان کو تو اس وقت سب سے زیادہ ضرورت پولیٹیکل سٹیبلٹی کی ہے, کہ ایک تکڑی گورنمنٹ آئے, اسٹیبل گورنمنٹ عوام کی پاور سے, جو پھر اس ملک کو اس دلدل سے نکال سکے. کیا اس میں اگر یہ جو پلان بن رہا ہے, کیا اس میں پاکستان میں پولیٹیکل سٹیبلٹی آ جائے گی؟ اور جو بھی یہ پلان بنا رہا ہے کیا اس کو اپنی ذات کا سوچ کوئی پرائم منسٹر بن گیا؟ اسرائیل میں بڑی آپ ان کی میڈیا دیکھیں تو وہ بھی خوش ہوئے, اور مغربی میڈیا جو مجھے جانتا ہے, ہندوستان کا میڈیا بھی مجھے جانتا ہے, ان کے اندر بھی ایک رجیم چینج کو کسی نے اٹھایا نہیں, کیونکہ وہاں بڑا برا سمجھا جاتا ہے کہ باہر سے بیٹھ کے کسی ایک جمہوریت کو گرایا جائے. تو آج وہ آگے چل رہی ہے وہ سازش, اور میں اس سازش کی آج پہلے ایک چیز سے شروع کرتا ہوں. اس خوفناک سازش کے اندر ایک پلان بنا ہوا ہے کہ ملک کی سب سے بڑی پولیٹیکل پارٹی کو اپنی فوج کے ساتھ لڑا دیا جائے. یعنی ہمیں اور فوج کو ایک ایسا پیش کیا جائے کہ ہم ایک دوسرے کے کوئی مخالف ہیں, اور یہ ایک پلان کر کے کیا جا رہا ہے. میں صرف جو آپ سب دیکھ رہے ہیں, میں آپ کو یاد کرانا چاہتا ہوں کہ جب ہماری گورنمنٹ چل رہی تھی تو سب سے زیادہ تنقید جب آتی تھی ہندوستان سے میرے اوپر, تو وہ یہ کیا کہتے تھے کہ عمران خان فوجیوں کا, پاکستانی فوج لے کے آئی ہوا ہے, ان کا پتلا ہے. سب سے زیادہ یہ کرتے تھے, اور مسلسل ان کو تکلیف تھی کہ جی یہ فوج اور گورنمنٹ ایک ہی پیج پہ چل رہی ہے. آپ کو پتہ نہیں اس چیز کا علم ہے یا نہیں, یا یاد ہو یا نہ ہو, کہ ایک ہمارے سوشل میڈیا کے جنونی نوجوانوں نے ایک چیز, ایک بے نقاب کیا جس کو کہتے تھے یورپین یونین کی ڈس انفارمیشن لیب. یہ کیا تھی؟ اس میں تقریباً 800 فیک سائٹس تھی, اور یہ فیک سائٹس کیا کر رہی تھی؟ یہ مسلسل پاکستان کے خلاف پروپیگنڈا کر رہی تھی, جس میں کئی پاکستان کے صحافی بھی شامل تھے, کئی وہ لوگ شامل تھے جو آج اس امپورٹڈ حکومت کے ساتھ اب نظر آتے ہیں. اور یہ کیا کہہ رہے تھے؟ 2 لوگوں کو اٹیک کر رہے تھے, ایک عمران خان کو اور ایک پاکستانی فوج کو, اور تکلیف یہ تھی کہ یہ ساتھ چل رہے ہیں. اب میں آپ کو ذرا تھوڑا پیچھے لے جاؤں کہ جب ممبئی کے اٹیک ہوا, دہشت گردی کا اٹیک ہوا ممبئی میں, تو آصف زرداری نے ایک بیان دیا تھا کہ پاکستان کا جو ڈی جی آئی ایس آئی ہے اس کو ممبئی بھجوایا جائے. یعنی سوچیں کہ اپنا ملک کا اس وقت صدر تھا, کہتا تھا اس کو ممبئی بھجوایا جائے. اور پھر یہی آصف زرداری حسین حقانی کے ذریعے امریکنوں کو میسج پہنچاتا ہے कि अमेरिकनों को कह रहा है कि पाकिस्तान की फौज से आसिफ जरदारी को बचाएं, और दूसरी तरफ नवाज शरीफ। यही जब मुंबई अटैक्स हुए तो इसने नवाज शरीफ सबसे पहले बोला कि वो जो लड़का, एक लड़का, वो कौन से गांव में था पाकिस्तान में जिधर से अटैक हो। इसने किम बाकर को एक इंटरव्यू दिया था और इसने उस इंटरव्यू में बता दिया कि वो पाकिस्तान से है। यानी पहले ही एक बहुत बड़ा एक पाकिस्तान के खिलाफ एक मुहिम चली हुई थी, और ख़ास तौर पे ISI और पाकिस्तानी फ़ौज को टारगेट किया जा रहा था। तो नवाज शरीफ ने पहले कहा ये। फिर डॉन लीग्स क्या थी? डॉन लीग्स के अंदर नवाज शरीफ, इसकी गवर्नमेंट बाकायदा ये कहती है कि जो दहशतगर्दी हिंदुस्तान के खिलाफ हो रही है उसमें पाकिस्तान की ISI मुलव्वस है, पाकिस्तान की फ़ौज। और नरेंद्र मोदी बार बार पाकिस्तान के सिपा सलार जो तब थे, जनरल रहील, बार बार ये कहते थे कि वो दहशतगर्द है, दहशतगर्दों का सरदार है। और नवाज शरीफ उसको शादी पे बुला रहा था, उसी नरेंद्र मोदी को। उसी नरेंद्र मोदी को जब काठमांडू के अंदर सार्क कॉन्फ्रेंस होती है तो बरका दत्त, जो उनकी लीडिंग जर्नलिस्ट हैं, वो अपनी किताब में लिखती है कि छुप के।
Okay, everybody, welcome to This Week in Startups for a Friday. It's a solo dolo, Jason Newsday. I'm back to going solo because Molly has a well-earned vacation. We're going to do a full Coinbase breakdown ahead of their earnings report. Next week, we'll also cover that, but we're going to talk about their stock having a massive comeback and this new partnership they have with BlackRock for institutional trading. Just when you thought crypto was over, it looks like Coinbase is making some progress. Then we're going to cover another Amazon acquisition. Amazon is now buying Roomba maker iRobot, and we'll go through some of the other acquisitions that Amazon has made and some of the ones I think they should make. Then finally, we'll wrap up with the debut of jtrading.com. Yes, I have a domain name. We bought the domain name jtrading.com, and we're breaking down the early trades I made and one of my 4 trades. Stitch Fix, Amazon, Disney, and Warner Bros. Discovery. One of those 4 is down 17%. I'm getting slaughtered by this trade. And we're going to find out if I'm going to double down, stay the course, or I'm going to make my first sale. And then, of course, it's Friday, so you get another amazing OK Boomer segment from Rachel reporting. It's going to be a great show. Stick with us.
This Week in Startups is brought to you by Lemon.io. Need to speed up your product development without draining your budget? Hire vetted engineers from Europe at Lemon.io. Go to lemon.io/twist to get 15% off for the first 4 weeks. Helpware helps you outsource the tasks that slow your team down. From data entry to world-class customer support, Helpware can help make you bionic. Go to helpware.com/twist to get $1,000 off your first invoice. And Bubbles. Guess what? You don't have to be in back-to-back calls all day or get continually pulled into quick syncs. By using Bubbles' async collaboration tool, you can remove a minimum of 2 meetings a week from your schedule. Get your point across with unlimited screen and video recordings for free at usebubbles.com/twist.
All right, everybody, in our first story, BlackRock is partnering with Coinbase to make it easier for institutional investors to manage and trade Bitcoin. Apparently, people still believe in crypto and people love Bitcoin. It's amazing to see Bitcoin be the one cryptocurrency that seems to weather every storm. And we're going to cover a little bit more about Coinbase's performance because they're going to have their quarterly earnings report next week when markets close on Tuesday. So today's Friday. On Tuesday, next week, today's the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. On the 9th, Tuesday, Coinbase will report their earnings. I'm really interested in seeing what happens with those earnings because who's trading crypto right now, right? I mean, who would trade into this? If anything, people are selling or don't want to open the app and look at it, right? This is what Robinhood and Coinbase, their big challenge will be in a down market when people don't have stimmy checks, when they don't have free time, when they can now go back and spend their money going out or wagering on sports. All that stuff is back online. You're going to lose, I don't know, 25, maybe 50% of the looky-loos, the people who are trying out trading as a pastime. or maybe they just were greedy and or had FOMO. Any of those things are possible. And now they can have other pursuits because the pandemic is over. Isn't that amazing? We don't think about the pandemic all that much anymore, but there was that year when we were locked inside and couldn't go out and you had to wear masks and all this crazy stuff that we went through. Thank God it's over. And then on Wednesday, I'm going to have my friend Sunny Madra on to talk about crypto because he's deep in the weeds on it. He's building a crypto startup. He's been in it from the beginning. And I'm looking for one more person to have on. A lot of people are away for the summer. So if you have suggestions of somebody who's actually trading and buying crypto right now, that would be interesting for me. You can email producers at thisweekinstartups.com. So as we know, the SEC is investigating Coinbase over selling unregulated securities on its platform. And I think I didn't cover that because I was out on my rafting trip, but Molly and I think Deirdre Bosa did talk about that. Now let's just quickly go through what's going on here. Coinbase has had a crazy ride since they went public via a direct listing in April of 2021. They didn't do the standard, IPO roadshow tour. They did a direct listing. And when you look at this chart, my Lord, it was at $77 billion as a market cap. You're talking Airbnb levels, bigger than Uber today, but, kind of Uber at its peak. Now this is with, a lot of crypto mania going on in November of 2021. And of course, it's plummeted since then. And this is the really hard part about being a public market investor or a private market investor for that matter, in a really hyped up market. If you were a VC, if you invested in Coinbase, my Lord, you should have distributed all the shares. And, since they, unlike say Robinhood, where I was locked up and the shares were really high during the lockup and then they came down after we were all unlocked, private investors typically have a 6-month lockup. Coinbase, because it was a direct listing, you don't have a lockup. The shares just start trading. Spotify did this as well. Bill Gurley has been a proponent of this because the fees are lower and you get to the organic price of the stock almost immediately, or theoretically you do immediately. So they could have distributed at these crazy market caps and then took that win. And man, they should have. So this is one of the big lessons I'm trying to understand with jtrading.com, TM. I am trading stocks here because I want to be really good at knowing when to liquidate, when things are overvalued, when they're undervalued. And so that I can use that to inform my private market investing, to inform my liquidation and cashing in my chips before an IPO, after an IPO, and when should I liquidate as an early stage investor? And then when should I hold, right? And look, if I had bought a ton of Uber when it was at, $19, $20 just a couple of weeks ago, I would have had a 50% gain. That's nothing to sneeze at, right? But maybe you held on to them and, now you could be looking at, the destruction of, 80% of your returns. 86%, I think, was peak to trough, bottomed out at a $10.9 billion market cap 8 months later in July of 2022. We're sitting here on August 5th, so just last month. But over the past 5 days, miraculously, Coinbase's market cap is up 50% from about 14 billion to 20 billion. Now, this is very misleading because when you lose 86% of your stock, right, it's going back up 50%. That doesn't get you, to close to 86% because remember, you have to grow a lot more. So if you were to go from down 86%, you don't just need to go up 86% to be even again, right? 86% on 14 billion, you'd be at 24 billion or something, right? You're not going to be anywhere near that peak. And that's just fun with percentages, right? Because the percentage decrease is from the high number, the percentage increase is from the low number. This should be obvious to everybody. But this is why holding on when you're in a dog of a stock is a really hard thing for people to do because catching up can almost seem insurmountable. But this is very interesting. People who are bottom feeding right now, I started J trading at the beginning of July, almost will be at a month, I think, since my first trade. And because I believe, and I said this in June, that we were bouncing along the bottom, and I thought the summer would be kind of a bottom moment, but that we might retest those bottoms over the next 6 to 12 months, which made it a perfect time, I think, to start J trading, start maybe looking at what the value is. I'm not saying Coinbase is one of these. Actually, I wouldn't touch Coinbase because I think cryptocurrency could be having what I would consider an existential crisis here. because of these SEC investigations. But look at this chart. Coinbase's quarterly revenue ripped from 190 million in mid-2020 to a peak of 2.5 billion in Q4 2021. That is bonkers. But in Q1, revenue dropped 35% year over year to 1.1 billion. And I think this is all the retail traders are just gone. If you look year over year at this chart, it is a pretty crazy swing as a public company. When you're supposed to go public, when you have predictable revenues, right? That's what the public markets are for. People are looking to really understand your business. It should be robust and predictable. But I don't think people could predict, I mean, I did, but I don't think most people could predict that crypto would get hit this hard. I knew this was coming, only because I didn't think there was a fundamental intrinsic value in almost all of the cryptocurrency projects out there, not Coinbase, but the things that are traded on Coinbase. And I thought there was also a risk of regulatory issues, including and up to things being banned. And here we are. Coinbase had an issue with insider trading. People were front running the markets, and I believe it was the New York's Southern District, I think, went after those individuals. And now we have Coinbase reportedly being investigated by the SEC because they believe the coins being traded are stocks. I believe they're closer to stocks than they are to Chuck E. Cheese tokens or airline miles or utility tokens. So I think if we're being intellectually honest, just my belief, I know people disagree, certainly cryptocurrency exists somewhere between, Chuck E. Cheese tokens, these random